But that was season 2, episode 2, I'm home. And that was the case for, well, we spent the majority of the episode with Sasha, it seemed like. And it was neat to kind of go back in time with her as well and see where she comes from and her relationship with her father, just getting to know her better, and then getting to that village. At first, it was just straight up disturbing because the only people she found in the village was a smaller-ish Titan eating a woman who was still alive, who was just not, like, she had bad legs or something, and that's why she couldn't leave the village. And then this kid who was just sitting there completely traumatized.
Yeah.
Fuck. And it was like, it was because people just didn't help. Like, no one came to help them, even though they knew that her legs were bad.
But that also ties into exactly what Sasha's father was talking about.
Yes.
Like, if you choose to sit down and do nothing when other people call for help, because you're doing fine, you're inside the woods, you don't get titans
you don't want to give anything up, and you don't want to change the way you're living.
No, and she also said that she saw those tracks, and I think the whole blue thing lighting up when she saw the tracks was kind of like a way to show that she is a hunter, so she's used to, hunting tracks. So I think when she saw those Titan steps, she was like, they've never, like, they never venture this far in the forest.
Don't usually see Titan tracks here.
Exactly. So they must have lived a very safe and, like, a secluded life there. And the whole way, like, the whole conversation between Sasha and her father was, I think, was very interesting, because it gave us a lot of, like, information about, like, the state of the world. And it was 3 years ago, so it was after all these people have been sent out. So of course they search, or they go to the woods to kind of live there. And she's like, I don't want to share my food. I don't want to share my safety and my fairly privileged spot here in the woods.
I don't want to break with traditions either, because, like, hunting, it's who we are, and it's more important to just keep being who we are instead of changing things up and risk losing what we got.
And then her father was like, yeah, but it's like we kind of have to care for other people as well. We have to see us as a big whole. Like, we just one functional system. We have to take care of each other, whether you're inside the walls or outside the walls, or we have to work together across, like,
all humanity. Yes. So
even us here, it would make sense to actually try and get some. We're still inside the walls, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Sorry, I was thinking they were still, like, they were outside the walls. Sorry. Still though, so they wanted to grow crops.
He wanted to do that. At least, so to support the cities and the other people who are in need. And I think I kind of like that, and she was just being a little bit like, and of course it's like, if that's everything you know, you have to. It's understandable that you would react like that when something is threatening your way of life in one way or another. But I do think that the whole conversation between Sasha and her father is very indicative of, like, human nature in general when it comes to this stuff, where you can definitely see from the point of view with Sasha, where, like, we have a good life here, and it can be very risky to go out of your way and, to maybe necessarily, like, to help others. It might not pan out the way, and you might risk losing more in that way. But then when you see it from her father's point of view, It's more the case of, well, yeah, we humans are used to live like pack animals. We have a lot of disagreements and we live in different ways across the world, but we cannot afford to do that right now because we are in such a big crisis mode. Like there's such a big issue, a problem that we cannot solve unless we help each other out and unless we come together. And that can also, it can be something that relates to reality for sure as well, where there are a lot of problems in the real world as well, where some people would argue that why should I go out of my way to help others when I then risk losing what I have? And is that even going to better the situation? Is that a risk that I want to take? Is that a choice I want to make? But when humanity as a whole is faced with a problem where we cannot solve it unless we work together, I could come up with examples, but I don't want to like start a whole fucking political discussion down in the comments. But at least I like the notion, and I'm sure you do as well, that when something like that happens, then we do need to work together. And yes, we're going to have to give up something on something.
But I can't help but think, of course, in this situation specifically, because they decided to stay there and not like, they were not getting any help from the outside. But I also can't help but think, because when she got to the village, she was like, oh, a whole new village.
Yeah, a lot has happened there. So just in those 3 years, it's been growing.
Yeah, I don't know if, it's been growing, because they probably took in people. But I cannot help but think, yes, they took in people and they grew the city. They must have been doing some farm work, like some growing some crops and stuff, and actually doing what her father was talking about. Yeah. But I cannot help but think that maybe that's also what that's maybe what led
attracted the Titans. Yes.
Yeah, that suddenly the Titan actually found its way to their place, and
that was the risk.
Luckily, they had horses for everyone.
Yeah, they were out helping people in the area.
Yeah, so they could just evacuate people. And I think, so far, I think he's like... Okay, sorry. There's a lot of things to unpack in this one. So we also had this conversation, like this flashback to when she was in training. And we met this person.
That was an interesting one.
Ymir. We heard the name just before. And she kind of looks a little bit like Ilse with the kind of short brown dark hair.
Yes, like a sharp face as well.
Kind of, yeah. It kind of looked like freckles, maybe. I can't remember if Ilse had freckles, but something like that. Anyway, she was a very person. And
quite a bit of an asshole.
Yeah, and I feel like she was privileged, and she came from... I don't know if it's just a first-hand assumption. But it feels like the way that she was basically mocking Sasha for the way that she was talking, that she had definitely another life and probably a little bit more privileged. I don't know, because she was like calling her like
the center maybe, or like the...
I don't know if it was the center, but maybe just... I don't know where she was from, but she gave off that kind of like bratish behavior that you can sometimes get when you're a little bit privileged. And the way that she was mocking Sasha and even like saying stuff like you're stupid you talk stupid and you're trying to cover it up because you're embarrassed. I just think it goes to show that the people living on the outskirts in the maybe not so safe areas, they're doing a lot to help people. And again, this just ties straight into that like classicism thing that I'd love to talk about.
They're the ones giving up things. Like they're the ones who are struggling. They're the ones who are helping, and they even like told us with these cities, communities that live in forests or outside, and they grow crops and they send food to the big cities. Yeah. So the big cities are dependent on these people living on the outskirts who are risking everything, and that's definitely why you can like look at people like Ymir and think that, oh, you sound like a privileged asshole right now, because you don't come from a place like that's risking the same things.
And also the way that they're speaking, so they definitely had their own specific dialect.
Yeah, just from the way the translation went, the subtitles.
And I think especially for a country like ours, a very small country, there's a huge difference between people living here in the capital versus people that lives far out in the country.
Yeah.
That usually have a lot sharper dialects, or sharper, you know what I mean? Like
more
they
distinctive,
have distinctive dialects. Yeah. I come from a place where we far out.
It'll never be that far out when you're talking about Denmark because everything is relatively close. But inside the country of Denmark, it is far out.
It's far out. And we do have distinctive dialects where I'm from. Sometimes definitely more distinctive than others. But people in the capital has this thing that because we have these very strong dialects, we might be a little bit simple or simple-minded.
Yes. I think that's something that applies to every country, everywhere.
I'm just trying to put it into perspective. That's something city. I know.
Yes.
And from my background, because I grew up like Sasha.
And then again, I've also experienced, because I've always lived in and around the city, the capital. So my accent I sound very much like someone who is from Copenhagen. And I've also tried, being then going to other cities, like the opposite, where I start speaking and someone's like, "Wait, are you from Copenhagen?" And then and they're like, "Fuck you, I don't want to talk to you," kind of a deal almost.
Yeah,
where it's like, "Oh, come on."
Because we have a tendency of listening to language and then we
are making snap judgments, and just don't do that in general. Just be a good person towards everyone, for fuck's sake.
And then if you have a very because I kind of have an adaptive dialect, so I definitely speak more in my
hometown dialect.
Yeah, if I'm with someone from there, or if I'm actually back there, so it's a bit like a code switching thing. Because then, as soon as I get over here,
I hear it easily, like when you switch.
Yeah, because the switch is I think it's called code switching. But I don't know if that's specifically to certain types of. I think it's called AAP or something. Or whatever. I'm not so much into other dialects than Danish. So this is code switching going on. And I think it's just it's not necessarily completely subconscious, that I do this switching, because I think the reason why I do have multiple dialects, a way of speaking, is because I'm kind of I'm trying to adapt to where I'm coming from. And I think that it's the same with Sasha here, that she's kind of adapting a little bit and just trying to shield hide, she's trying to hide her natural dialect that she's from outskirts.
I'm sure a lot of people they know that feeling as well, either adapting to some place they moved to from where they came from, and then when they come back they kind of switch back into just talking the way that they used to when they were kids. And it's a fairly common thing, I'm sure.
But I just like was it Krista?
I think it was,
yeah,
defending
that she
her.
Was, completely just defending her, and just being straight out, just saying, "You're being so insensitive."
Yeah, just fuck off.
I like Sasha, and Sasha has to be. I think Sasha should be and talk the way that exactly what she should.
Whoever Sasha wants to be,
just
do it.
Let her, man.
Let her.
Stop picking on her for trying to mask her.
And I think we've seen Emir pick on people before,
she's
several times. And I was just about to say, I think I recognized this privileged asshole. And then the whole Emir name came in and was like, is there a fucking connection there? And I have no idea if there is. At least we noticed it, and now we're just going to be aware of it. Because there's nothing else we can connect. We've not really spent time with this character that much. And right now, it just seems like a bit of a coincidence. But it could also be connected. So let's see where that goes. But that wasn't the only thing that happened in this episode. It actually went in several directions. At first, we spent time with Eren and Mikasa, and they're moving out, and Hanji is there, and Levi, and they got this priest with them who won't say anything. So they're just gonna take him with them out into the open field and show him the horribleness of Titans what's going on with the Titans, and maybe that will get him talking. And we sort of want that guy to talk because he knows something about those fucking walls.
Yeah.
And that's a big mystery as well. And even like Armin had a theory where it was like the walls are made up of Titan skin, hardened Titan skin in the same way that like what Annie did, although it looks very different. And that is also one of those things where we're gonna be on the lookout for more information, but right now it's just like I have no idea like how to connect that.
So we talked about like each section being a Titan.
Yes, so the Titans are protecting the humans from
But are
Titans.
they protecting?
Or keeping them in. And
which is
what they said in
questions.
So many questions. So fucking many questions. And they even ended the episode on a question with them getting at the very end to Connie's village. Another, I'm home, and fuck. And this Titan was laying on his house, but its body and its muscles had deteriorated, and it couldn't move. And it was like, how did it even get there?
It almost looked like it was being thrown.
Yeah, it had been thrown.
So has it been thrown by something or someone?
We saw the Beast Titan throw a horse in the first episode of season 2.
So why would you throw it? And like what happened? What happened to Connie's family? Because it was definitely his house.
Yeah. So much more is going on out there.
It's clearly still alive, right? So
yeah, otherwise it would have burned away.
Yeah, and it's just like, how can, if it's like, let's say it's like a muscle atrophy, so how is it not regenerating?
Yeah, why? Yeah.
And also it had like ribs. Was it that?
It seemed like
there were ribs
or rib cage.
Yeah. So many questions.
Yes, it ended on that. On a to be continued. What the fuck is going on?
Another one.
And another one of those, yes. But, oh fuck, I'm enjoying this journey so much. Do you have anything else you want to add to this one in particular?
No, sorry I talk so much.
No. Don't be sorry. It's a good talk, I think. But thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you as soon as possible. That's not how I usually do it. I usually say... But that'll do it for this reaction and review of Attack on Titan Season 2, Episode 2. We'll see you guys as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. Bye.
Bye. But it feels like the way that she was basically mocking Sasha for the way that she was talking. But it feels like the way that she was basically mocking Sasha for the way that she was talking. But it feels like the way that she was basically mocking.
But it feels like the way that she was basically mocking